the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I am your host, Ryan Hudson. Joined with me, as always, is your other host,
Jason Deeds.
The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I force Jason to watch big blockbuster movies he's refused to watch because he didn't think they were worth his time. We're currently going through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but we're also high school teachers. Between the two of us, we teach English, film, philosophy, creativity, and, well, you do most of those, I feel like. we gotta revise that list.
That's true. But mine are all one-offs, like one class of music appreciation. You have like this whole, following of film studies
that's
classes. That is true.
Anyway, we use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, the philosophy, the film studies, and ethics in our films, and push you, the listener, to think critically about your entertainment.
Yes. That is true.
What movie did we watch?
We watched Eternals this week. And I'm honestly still don't really know what I think about it. So
I think that's good. Is that a good sign?
I don't know. But this week, as I promised X weeks ago, I don't even know how many episodes ago, we have a very special guest, a man who's very dear to my heart, Martin Harris. He is the one that rescued me from early adulthood. We had a business together, which basically consisted of us sitting around talking about deep ideas and playing Counter-Strike. And so this is the man that is at least partially responsible for my awakening as a thinker. So this is Martin Harris. You want to say a little more or say hi or...
I appreciate the invitation to be on the show, guys. And Jason might have overstated a couple of things there, but I, as way of introduction, I'm an automobile mechanic, which doesn't make me a film expert, but it does make me a thinker. So I appreciate the invitation onto the show. And I did not like very many things about the Eternals. So let's.
And you had never seen it before?
I had not. I got Marvel fatigue really early on, and so I have not seen Black Widow either. I listened to your show on that one, but I hadn't seen it. So no, I had not seen the Eternals. When Jason invited me on, I wanted to review something that I had not seen. So I watched the Eternals.
Yeah, we're gonna.
You can just skip Black Widow.
Kinda. For being honest.
Hard pass.
We're gonna bring up Marvel fatigue later on. I think that was a big problem with this movie bombing.
I think something that Marvel has done to, I guess, cause their own Marvel fatigue is the way they've altered their characters into things that don't make sense.
These characters were pretty stupid.
Yeah, well, no one knows. These are like D-tier characters, kind of. You weren't a big fan of Icarus before this movie?
I was a huge Icarus guy. What are you talking about? No, I still don't really understand most of their abilities.
I'll do a little bit of backup first. They were created in 1976.
Okay.
By Jack Kirby. Jack the King Kirby.
Okay.
You don't know Jack Kirby?
He's the little guy that eats Yoshis.
Yeah. He's a big deal in comic book history.
Okay.
He kind of gets forgotten about because it's always like, oh, Stan Lee created all these guys.
Right.
No, Jack Kirby was there. Kirby,
so he created all the D-tier stuff.
Well, he almost single-handedly was responsible for the look of comic books. If you look at, the golden age, 70s or whatever, they're, Jack Kirby-esque, or they're influenced by Jack Kirby.
Oh.
He's famous for putting a lot of detail and a lot of color in his comics. A little ironic that this movie doesn't have a lot of color, though. But this is a Jack Kirby baby.
Okay.
He left DC... he left Marvel for DC Comics at one point.
Okay.
I don't know exactly why. I think he got frustrated. And he created a comic series in DC called New Gods.
Which are these guys?
Right, kind of. He came back to Marvel. He wanted New Gods. DC said no. So I'm going to make something super similar, the Eternals.
Okay, except for they're not.
What? They're not eternal?
Yeah.
They can die?
Yeah.
They've
I
been around
noticed
since
I
the
noticed
beginning of
that.
time. But
This whole movie.
anyway, they're like an offshoot of the human race, kind of a thing.
But they're not.
I know, and that changes up. So there's a couple different stories. There's the Jack Kirby run from the 70s, but this is largely based on a series from the early 2000s by Neil Gaiman.
Really?
Yep. This is
Then I would have thought it would be a lot better.
Well, it's, heavily inspired by and a lot of key ideas like Sprite being a child forever and dealing with that. That's a Neil Gaiman original.
Okay.
Things like that here and there. Largely inspired by that run.
Cool.
Yeah.
This should have been better then.
Agreed, it should have been better then.
Like if Neil Gaiman was involved, it should have been a lot better.
He wrote a book 20 years ago that this one's
that
inspired
they just
by.
borrowed
Yeah,
crap
exactly.
from? Oh,
They're
so he wasn't involved.
Yeah, he wasn't involved, yeah.
Okay. That explains more.
Right.
I had a hard time caring about these characters at all. I don't understand them. I don't understand their powers. I don't understand why there are so many limitations. If they were created to fulfill this task, this role, why do we have so many limitations? It doesn't make any sense.
I just feel like there's a lot of potential that
Okay, so
remains untapped.
I will say a huge pro of this is the concept.
Right. I think
I thought it was awesome.
I agree, actually.
But then, I don't know if they were trying to do too much. I mean, it's still friggin' 2 hours and 40 minutes or something, but it felt like they were
it's
rushing everything,
one of the longest
trying
ones.
to cram a whole bunch of crap. They're trying to make love things going on that nobody cares about. I kept trying to care, and I just didn't. So
wait.
Okay, hang on.
Okay.
So maybe you can explain this.
Right.
The guy that does woogly with his hands and makes like lines in the sky. What does he do?
I don't know their names.
I don't either.
One
I
that's
don't
like he
care. The
invents
only
things.
one I remember is Thena because she made a big deal of there's no way. That's the only one. Literally the only one I remember.
You don't remember.
Okay, so the
Icarus.
guy that's making the bracelets.
Yeah, that
I
guy
don't know.
is-
He made like the plow in the air and what is his job?
That's Fastos. I don't know what he does either.
He can't shoot energy, but he can make things that shoot energy. So
But he didn't.
Everything.
Ever.
Yes, he did.
When?
He did. Like the volcano's going off and there's like rocks flying in the air. He he builds these things, puts them on his hands, and he's shooting rocks.
Oh my.
He makes rope things to hold Icarus down. So somehow his things just need to be built for whatever reason.
I don't. Yeah. Anyhow,
I'm not saying it's.
the concept was awesome. The execution was terrible. However, I do have to point out that as the movie was beginning, imagine my surprise and delight when this track from the greatest musical group of all time showed up. Oh, see, it's written on his notes. We're just going to let this play. It's 7 minutes.
It's a lot to
Imagine how excited I was at the start of this movie. Pink Floyd, my absolute favorite musical group ever, leads this out. I went into this with such high expectations because if they picked Pink Floyd, this has got to be great. And then we got to the second minute of the movie and it was not great. So
yeah. Let's just start. I asked on Twitter, if you want to follow us on Twitter, I just asked the world, what do you think about this movie? I got a few responses.
okay.
So Always Sunny on Scarif podcast said, I freaking enjoyed it. Fight me, which is kind of fun.
When?
This American Wife podcast said, it had some great ideas, but the scope far outreaches the film's grasp.
Okay, that's exactly what I said.
This is one where seeding it through a Disney Plus series first would have made a lot of sense. I can't agree more. I think a lot of the Disney Plus TV series should have been 2-hour movies, and I think this would have been better as a TV show?
Yes, because I wouldn't have had to watch it then.
No, okay. There's 10 characters.
I know.
And that's too many
Way too
characters. But if there was a TV show, maybe 8 or 10 episodes, that's
Sure.
perfect
That I don't
time
have to
to
watch.
get to know every single person.
Great.
Anyway, I also agree. It would have been better as a series.
Cool.
Betsy Gorham of the Never Seen It Pod, she says,
Hey, it's her again. Hi.
Yeah. There were too many characters to flesh out in a movie. It was interesting, but doing this as a series would have been better. So, again, the idea, like, maybe this should have been a show.
Yeah.
Reels of Justice podcast, where they put movies on trial, which is kind of fun. They put this movie on trial.
Was it executed?
Well, listen to the People vs. Eternals on the Reels of Justice podcast.
Cool.
And then Joe Hoffner, he says, a thought experiment. If one half of the Eternals cast switched roles with the other half, would it have made any applicable difference at all?
That's hilarious. I like that. Whoever that is. Need to get that guy on.
Anyway, thanks for responding. Check out those
you.
podcasts. You don't want to answer that question if you switched.
Well, that would mean that Selma Hayek would have lost her memory and Angelina Jolie would have died. Huh? I don't know. I don't think it would have made a whole lot of difference. Martin, why don't we...
Yeah, let's cut to our guest.
Yeah.
Pros, I like the Pink Floyd intro. That was cool. Everything before that, I didn't like. The intro just didn't hit for me. It was very Marvel stagey, the Marvel team up, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's very cookie cutter, standard fare, and I don't know. I already had fatigue, so it's just kind of it's whatever. And then all 10 of them show up for the movie poster shot. And
Yeah, I hated that.
You gotta do
That's
that.
right here.
You need to do the hero pose.
No, that's
okay?
right there in my
That's
cons.
not that bad.
The stupid V lineup. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and someone explained to me how Druig uses his mind control to put everyone to sleep except one kid and his mom. And then the kid
You're
comes
the only
up.
one that knows who that is. So.
Druig's the one that...
I kept notes. I kept notes.
Do you remember, like, hold on.
Oh, he's the kid from
Yeah, from, like...
Killing a Sacred Deer. Okay,
You
sorry.
don't remember when Kamali
got
Jolly, he's
sorry.
like, Druid sucks. Yes, he does, sir.
So he puts everybody to sleep except this kid and his mom. And the kid's got this stone spear or whatever. And then Salma Hayek, what's her name? Yeah. Athena? No. Yeah.
Ajax.
Cersei, right? Okay, so... No. Yeah, whatever.
Cersei.
Cersei, right? So Cersei, she turns the stone spear into like this magical thing, which you think is going to be a sacred device that's going to show up later. It doesn't, and
I think...
then we
what I
fast
think
forward
that is...
5,000 years.
I-
Reasons nobody knows.
I think they're literally issuing in the Bronze Age or the Iron Age.
that's what they did?
Here's a medal.
Here's some bronze.
go and do.
I don't know.
That's what I think happened.
Make friggin' no sense at all. Anyhow,
That's
carry
a
on.
big leap, Ryan. That's a huge leap.
I swear, that's what I thought. Welcome to the Age of Bronze. or Iron, whatever one.
Before the movie introduced any characters, I've got their names as Stabby Girl, One Punch Man, Almost Superman.
Almost Superman. Yeah.
And the token black guy.
Keep riffing.
Okay, this
Wait,
is a
keep riffing. Keep
PG.
riffing. Well, what else do we got here?
Yeah. Sprite. Okay, so on the good side. Okay, so I liked the Peter Pan metaphor at the end. That was cool.
Yeah.
And Sprite choosing a human life, even though it means death. That was cool, but it's been done better. Tuck Everlasting was a great movie. This wasn't, but I like that concept. Like, is mortality worth growing and developing and experiencing like a spectrum of life? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they also needed a way to explain the actor being older in the next movie.
Oh, hope there's not another movie.
No, actually, they announced recently there are no plans, which I think
Good
is.
call.
I think it's
Okay.
a bummer, actually.
There's nowhere to go.
Well, I
So my-
disagree, but we'll get into that.
My last note on my note cards is, why is there a CGI dwarf at the end? And please tell me that.
Yeah, what the flip was that?
You can't find a midget? Like Peter Dinklage is not available? What? Vern Troyer? Anybody?
Wait, Peter Dinklage has already been in the MCU.
I put him in a costume. I don't know. But that CGI dwarf was terrible.
Yeah,
The whole movie was too CGI. There's a problem with these characters, right? We're supposed to care about what they care about. What do they care about? Well, they care about humans and stuff, but that's never shown. It's simply told. So they're in the whatever in 1521 year or whatever, and they're dancing. These humans are dancing, but you can tell that's a set with extras dancing, and these characters are green screened into it. There is no interaction. There's no eye contact. There's no emotional exchange. It's just a thing that happens.
True.
So I don't care about what they care about because they don't care what they are interacting with.
True.
Am I wrong? Jason?
Not at all. But Ryan probably thinks you are.
Well, I don't know.
Because Ryan loves all things Marvel.
Yes, that's me. I don't think. I only consume. Gimme.
I like the ethical question that was brought up. I like the Peter Pan metaphor. I like the Pink Floyd intro. And then it's kind of run out of things. Oh, and Fastos' statement, I wouldn't change a thing about who I am. I felt the emotion in that. I like that.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. I think this movie's complicated, kind of like what the people we read off were saying. I think it could have been really good, but more importantly, I think not giving this movie a sequel, like, kind of shoots it down, like, whoa, we could have done a whole bunch of things, maybe. Yet they all get taken by an Eternal. I think that's an interesting thing. What if the Avengers needed to help them out? I don't know. Anyway, I think this movie looks kind of cool. To directly disagree, I think the opening scene is good. Like when what are the monsters called?
Deviants.
The Deviants. I think you just get a little brief look at all these people fighting, but somehow the action looks different than we've ever seen in one of these movies. And I think it's because the director is definitely not a blockbuster director. She's a hardcore indie filmmaker that was very, very, very exciting to see what she was doing with a Marvel movie. People were saying, like, can we change things? Can we do something different? That's what you've been saying.
This is what they came up with?
This is what they came up with, and it's...
How is this different?
Just... Well, like, it's not as... I guess...
It's the same exact plot structure as every other one.
But, like, the whole visual language is radically different. Like, the cinematography and how people are shot and framed and how, like, things just look. Besides the fact that it's... most Marvel movies are kind of in your face with, like, the humor and, like... are we doing this? I guess we're doing this type of dialogue. I don't think it's like that necessarily.
I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, the dialogue was a lot less Marvel-y.
Yeah,
I didn't
that's what I mean.
That.
It's like...
You're right.
Just,
there was a lot more human.
The special effects... Okay, there's a couple crazy shots, but I think it's cool how they all have this glow, like this golden thing around all their powers. I think that looks super cool on screen.
Yeah.
And I will go so far to say, this might be a hot take, what's the Superman one?
I don't
know. Ajax. No, not Ajax. Icarus. I think Icarus is outdoing Superman from Superman movies. I'm serious. Like,
no, false.
We get to see him using laser eyes, flying and fighting. But, like, have we seen a Superman movie that is this satisfying to see these Superman powers? I'm like, this looks really cool. Like, part of the reason is because she holds on the shots for so long. Like, there's that one fight scene in the middle of the jungle or whatever, and the thing's, like, on him, scratching at him, and he's, like, punching back, and it's, like, holding his face, lasering, but it's, like, one continuous shot. So that's kind of another way it's different. And, like, this is cool. You're just seeing a super-powered guy using all his powers in one fight, in one take. I think there's a lot of cool moments like that.
Cool.
I one time made a TikTok talking about...
one?
Yeah, super speed from the Flash movie, because it's weird. And I'm like, what's the best example of super speed? And I got... For some reason, this TikTok got like 1 million views.
Wow.
But people were like, oh, it's from Internals. like so many responses, not just one or a few people. Like, oh, Eternals has the best super speed we've seen on camera.
Which is what?
The super speed, like the fast person.
What?
What's her name?
Like what made it super special or awesome?
Well, I think we're comparing things like the Flash movie or the Quicksilver from X-Men.
Dash is Makari.
Makari.
Dash.
Actually, Dash from
I'm running
Incredibles.
on water.
That's actually a really good fast scene. But like, there was a whole movie of Flash.
Dash.
And the super speed looks really weird. And I think it's kind of cool just to see her zoop in, grab Icarus, like drag him across the cliff, spinning her. I don't know. It's just satisfying somehow. But that wasn't even me. A lot of people don't like this movie, but are like, but the super speed is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. The other big thing I love is this diverse cast.
I hated that. Okay, go ahead.
The diversity.
You do the pro, I'll do the con.
A lot people that look different from each other, and also we have a deaf actor and deaf hero. She's mute, but the actress is deaf.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool that they got an actress who speaks
Is
sign
actually
language.
deaf.
Yeah, that could fit in that role, which is kind of cool. But I thought the diversity was kind of a cool point. I will say the number one biggest complaint about this movie would be it's boring.
It is. Because who cares about any of these characters?
I don't know. I don't know if I care about them, but did we care about... Here's my thing. I didn't like Thor 1. I don't really like Captain America 1.
I hate Captain America 1.
But Captain America 2 and 3 is better. Thor
Sure.
2 is better. See, I'll say it out loud.
Okay.
Thor 2 is better than Thor 1.
Yeah.
Then Ragnarok's even better.
Yeah.
Eternals could have found its footing eventually.
because nobody cares.
I disagree.
What makes a good character?
Yeah.
Why are these characters bad? I have a theory. So my feeling is that a good character is relatable.
Yes.
So using the standard unit of measure in the Desert of the Real podcast, Iron Man, as an example. Tony Stark's a narcissist, right? The Iron Man suit allows him to be the person he really wants to be, but he has to do it secretly. And he is a good character while his power supply that allows him to be that character he really wants to be, while that power supply is killing him. That's a trade-off that I can understand. I can put myself into that position and go, okay, if I wanted to do super things, would I do it if the trade-off was that it was killing me? I can relate to that. Now, once they fix that and he can just be Iron Man willy-nilly with no trade-off, then he stinks. That's a bad character. Trade-off generally is that if I'm going to be super, I can't be normal. So you trade off a normal life for being a superhero, and you have to keep your identity secret, right? I think Hulk is a great character because Hulk's trade-off is that when he becomes Hulk, he goes all brah and loses his humanity, and then he comes back out of that state and he has to see what he has done while he lost his humanity, and he has to look into the eyes of the people he loves, and he sees the damage done to the people that he cares about the most, as well as the damage that he's done to the area around him, and he has to make that trade-off over and over and over. And I can relate to that because I think any parent can. Anybody that's lost their cool and said something aggressive or mean or regrettable to a kid, and then you look into their eyes and you have to wonder if the damage you've just caused is permanent. In that moment, I don't have to wonder what it's like to be Hulk. I am that Hulk. That's a good character. Now, what Marvel does over and over and over again is they take that and then they ruin it by making so there's no consequences, right? Oh, okay, now Hulk he's just Bruce Banner and Hulk at the same time, and he has his humanity, and he can make logical decisions, and there's no consequences. And Iron Man, his power supply is no longer killing him, so he can do whatever he wants, and there's no consequences. And on and on and on. We have multiverses, so there's no consequences. We just go back in time and fix it. In this movie, the reason the characters stink is there are no trade-offs for their powers. You know, one of the best movies that's an example for this is Firestarter from like 1984. Jason will remember Firestarter. Yeah. And in it, her parents both have powers that they got from being experimented on by the government. And then they had a kid together, which they were not supposed to do, so they're on the run. And the kid inherits super powers. But there's trade-offs for that. Dad, he's kind of like Druig, okay? So he can influence people's perceptions. He gives a guy a dollar bill and he tells him it's $100. And the guy believes him because he influences his powers of perception. But the trade-off is he gets headaches and his nose bleeds. And if he does it too much, it'll kill him. That's a good trade-off. I can relate to that character, right? Would you do it if you knew it was injuring you? The daughter, she can do it, but it hurts the people around her, right? She can shoot fireballs. That's why it's called Firestarter. So there's just trade-off. I understand that intuitively. Everybody does, because if you're going to do something exceptional, there's a price you pay to get there. And characters, good characters, emulate that. Bad characters have no trade-offs. And all of these characters, there are no trade-offs. And so I have no reason to internalize their struggle. None.
Preach.
I think
basically.
Well, they tried to do that. Like, I mean, because
show me where they try, because I missed it.
Let me tell you. This is actually fun fact: the first Marvel movie I didn't see in theaters.
Oh wow!
I waited till this came on streaming a month later when Disney was shooting themselves in the foot over and over again. There's one of the flashbacks. They are all on the same team, obviously, but we start to see they're supposed to be struggling with their mission all of a sudden.
Sure.
For example, Fasto's like, I want to make the engine. No, you can't. You can't do that. They're not ready. Druig's like, this would be easier if I can just control them. To tell, like, take away their free will. Like, no, you can't do that.
Sure.
Sprite, she's a girl who can't grow up. You know, like, it's affecting who she is and stuff. Athena just wants to go out and fight. She feels restricted having to stay with the team. There's one scene where they're like, when the team falls apart, that they were trying to establish every single one of them has issues being a team on this mission.
Yeah.
And they go their separate ways.
Yeah, well, whatever.
I'm not saying it's done well, but they did try.
This is one of my least favorite ones, I think I've decided. The more that we talk about it, the less I like it. I was really into the concept. Yeah. And other than that, nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with this movie. I watched on Disney Plus. There's an hour-long special effect, like behind-the-scenes featurette. I watched that.
You could have been watching The Green Mile. You watched that.
Yeah. Every day
bad
I could be
choice.
Watching. Every minute I could be watching The Green Mile. Choice. There was a lot of work put in behind the scenes. Like, they talk about making these costumes. Like, the dye had to set in for days, and each one had, like, multiple costumes for wear and tear and stuff. They go to all these locations for, like, that was a big marketing push. It's like, we're going there for reals. You know, we're going to this island to make it look good, which I do think pays off. But that's in the face of Disney Plus is just like a year old, and they developed this new thing. And so instead of acting in front of a blue screen or a green screen, there is a screen of LED where the actors can see the background that will adjust accordingly with the camera in real time.
Cool.
You're on an alien planet, it looks like you're there. The camera moves up, the screen will adjust to match the camera movement. Nice. Like, this is so cool. This is like a next step. But then, of course, they start to overuse it, and it becomes a problem. It's super easy to pinpoint. Oh, that's the screen. I can't believe what it's called. And this is like a year later. Like, no, we're not doing this on a stage. We're not doing it in front of. Like, we're going there for real life. We're building a bunch of sets for real life. This was an expensive movie. And I think you can kind of see on screen where the budget went. Like, they built the Babylonian gates and stuff. Like, that could have been a CGI background, but they didn't in this movie. Uh-huh. Like, compared to Shang-Chi from last week.
That was all CGI.
It's like all CGI, you can kind of tell. And here it's like they're on this desolate beach where there's nothing. Yeah. And it just kind of helps the movies look.
So, great looking movie.
The Volume. It's called The Volume.
The Volume. So, great looking movie. Terrible character development. Terrible plot.
Yeah.
So, philosophy. What I found was interesting is this is the first anti-utilitarian movie that I can remember. So, usually the greater good is the driving force. We'll sacrifice this or these people for the greater, bigger picture or whatever. That by allowing the human race to die, they were going to enable millions of other Earths and millions of other races to develop.
Mm-hmm.
But they decided that this one was more important than all of the potential millions,
Right.
which I think is a really cool philosophical choice. Because I think we inherently, when we're thinking in terms of big numbers, like billions of people or millions of planets, we inherently go for the big number over the small number. These guys made the opposite choice. Cersei was the one leading that choice, and I think that that is a really, it's a difficult stand to take and develop. But the one of the few parts I like was that she was able to hold that and stick with it long enough that she eventually brought everyone in. Although when Icarus came in, I was like, that is the dumbest moment in cinema history.
Oh, wow.
Because he's like, battle, 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 and then I have no clue what happened in his brain or whatever, but all like literally from one scene to the next scene, he's now like, oh yes, I give my force to whatever the crap was going on. Anyhow, so what do you think about that?
Yeah,
the willingness to choose the one planet over the potential millions.
So yeah, it's like this movie's almost a 3-hour long trolley problem.
Right,
that's
but they make the choice that is opposite of what most people choose.
Yeah.
So, thoughts? Martin, thoughts?
I could have really enjoyed this movie if I understood what a celestial was and had some kind of emotional reason to care that we have to, sacrifice all of these people to its creation, to its birth. I was never given a reason to understand what a celestial is. The great philosophical, ethical question is, should lower life forms die to allow higher life forms to evolve?
Yeah.
Pretty inherent. That's a great question. And it could have been so well handled. Show me what a celestial is. Show me what they do. Show me that, a celestial that's born will guarantee that all these billions of intelligent life forms, right, that guarantee them an afterlife. Make that compelling morally to me as a viewer so that I can go, I could see either side of this thing. And they didn't. I have no idea what a celestial is. I have no reason to care.
So then the trolley problem payoff didn't work for you.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I am biased because I'm one of the people on the planet that would have to die for dude to get born. So, full disclosure, somewhat biased. So I favor the kill the celestial idea. But yeah, I got a lot of problems how we got there. But I like that question. That could have been deftly handled.
Yeah, I agree. Save our planet.
So is that just like a...
No.
Well, okay, I found the quote because I wrote it under ethics. So here's the quote. So somebody, probably Cersei, says, every time an innocent life is sacrificed for the greater good, it's a mistake. And that's a stance that almost no philosopher takes. Huh. And so I thought it was super cool. So is it? And what counts, like I like Martin's take on this, like what counts as a life? Like we sacrifice, I don't know, a carrot. Like I ate a bunch of carrots today. So carrots were alive at one point. Is there that life, or the last time you killed a spy or had a steak, or like how far up do we go before we're like, okay, now these lives are equivalent. This life is as important as this life, and then we go past that point to what about 5 lives or 10 lives, or in this case billions, for potentially trillions or quadrillions of lives.
Yeah.
So
see, that's why it's interesting to compare, I guess, the Eternals versus the Deviants, because both were created by the Celestials, like for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
And then the Deviants are like, wait, why does our lives don't count? But then the one gets sentient. And
Right.
then it's like, we have the same mission, don't we? And then I guess the movie was trying to get us to believe that the Eternals see enough good in people.
Right, I got that.
Yeah.
It was pretty ham-handed, but
Despite...
but like just the idea of so everyone on the planet is going to benefit if I die. This movie is saying we cannot kill me because that would be a mistake. So is that true?
Oh, I like your carrots metaphor and stuff there. They're just find out, this is, I don't know how new, but fairly new science, but the acacia tree is what giraffes eat. And when giraffes are chewing on the leaves, the acacia trees downwind can, like, somehow they pick that up, and they change the chemical composition in their leaves in response to make themselves taste yucky. So when a giraffe is eating an acacia tree, when it goes to the next acacia tree, those leaves don't taste as good. Yeah. So there's... Do we sacrifice an acacia tree to keep a giraffe alive? Apparently we do, even though the acacia tree's got something to say about it.
That's super cool.
So, yeah. So I don't have the definitive answer. I'll tell you for myself. I think that there is a atomic communication system that exists, and there's science backing this up. There's sympathetic vibration and quantum entanglement backs this up. Your intent vibrates atoms, then other atoms will vibrate sympathetically or entangled, and that your intent can be reverberated permanently
into reality,
remotely into reality, and that your intent. So when you eat that salad, when you sacrifice that cow to feed people, your intent is meaningful and contributes toward whatever whole there is, whatever meaning is out there. And
so like a cow that was killed by somebody that's like, I'm going to make so much money off of this, is going to be different than a cow that was killed by somebody that's like, I need to take this life to preserve the lives of my family or my village. Is that what you're saying? So the intent of you are a money-making machine for me versus you are a life-preserving machine. Those are different stakes.
Yeah. The intent is there. So if you have commercial farming, so the commercial production of eggs and chicken is simply abhorrent, and I think that causes some sort of damage in the system. I think that intent is not, it's not healthy. It's not good. I think fortunately out here on the prairie, we don't grow peppers and lettuce very good, but we grow grass, and we feed cows with grass, and we eat those cows, and so we try to get our beef and pork from ranchers that care about the animal, that those vibrations are significant, and then when they are harvested, that there's an intent and a meaning there that it transcends just I need this to fill my belly.
So wait, so what you're saying, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to kind of explain the vibrations thing, since that might be weird. I'm an automobile mechanic, and I deal in a lot of electrical systems. And part of that is when a voltage moves along a copper wire, it creates an electromagnetic field around it. And that can energize the electrons in copper wires next to them and create electrical current in those wires. So as you shield it, scientists were experimenting with this, is they took a shielded cable and completely shielded it so that there was no possible way that electricity could leak out of that. So no way that an electromagnetic field could leak out of that. And then they ran another wire a little bit distance away, and when they ran electricity through the shielded wire, the other wire was still able to pick up that there were electrons moving through that one. And so there's something beyond the electromagnetic spectrum, that way that functions, that's causing that sympathetic vibration. There's some scientists trying to use that method and quantum entanglement. If you haven't heard of quantum entanglement, when an atom vibrates, another atom vibrates in sympathy, at least one vibrates in sympathy with it, regardless of distance and regardless of time. So they vibrate at the exact same moment, regardless of time. And so it's faster than the speed of light. At the exact same moment, they both vibrate. And so they can spin them clockwise. They spin one, and the other spins at the exact same rate and same impulse. So you enable communication through time and space, period.
Instantaneously.
Through time and space. Instantaneously. It's proven. So
Cool.
that's the sympathetic vibration. And
So that's the
quantum
Ansible
entanglement
from
theory.
Ender's Game.
So that's the Ansible from Ender's Game. Well done.
Cool.
Yeah. So when you kill that cow, whatever electrical impulses are going through your thought processes, you are creating vibrations remotely from yourself that vibrate atoms permanently. Your intent is stored permanently. There's the book of life.
So then we're all connected, not just in terms of common genetic ancestors, but we're also tied with everything.
Yeah, I think
Like
everything. So to answer
What
your
we
question,
do
right,
impacts everything else.
is it worth killing one innocent being to, let another live or to enhance the life of another one? I think the answer to that is intent.
So why you killed them rather than whether or not you kill them.
Yeah, the intent is important.
So, and now we see why this man was responsible for my birth as a critical thinker.
Nice.
So, there you go. So, intent. Eternals say no, no matter what.
They say love is more powerful, I guess.
Love of what? This group of people over the unknown.
No, like this tiny planet.
The unknown groups of millions of others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think I go with that. Intent. If that's true, and if we are truly all, everything is connected to everything else, then intent is everything. Wow. I'm going to think about that for a while now. That's really cool. So because the intent of whatever the guy Acheron or whatever his name was.
The Celestial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his name,
I
the
don't know.
Celestial. He had a name.
Arishem. Arishem is the prime celestial.
Okay, there you go. Because his intent is to simply create life for the sake of creating life.
Uh-huh.
Is he right or is he wrong? The intent to create more life seems like a good intent. That idea means the Eternals are wrong.
Yeah,
Because
but
their choice was selfish. Their intent
Yeah.
was, I don't want to lose this planet and these people. Therefore, I'm going to prevent this. So that means they're wrong.
Here's my problem with Arishem. It seems to me, and this is presented very badly, but it seems to me that all of his intent is somehow selfish. I'm not given a reason to think otherwise. He creates life, right? So he seeds planets and they develop over time, and then he tries to control them with deviants, creatures that he's created and that he controls and cares nothing about. Somehow structures the development of this planet so that intelligent life can form, and then all that intelligent life that he's just created, he just sacrifices that right off to create another celestial. And I wish I understood if the intelligent life, if all of their memories or whatever it is about intelligent life, if that gets absorbed into the celestial, if that's what is, he's simply sacrificing all of these people to that end, and he doesn't give a good reason. So I think that it would be better if he took that intelligent life and waited for them to become a stage 3 people where they're traveling the cosmos. It would show that he at least cared about the intelligent life he created.
I think, I guess, yeah, it would have been nice to maybe somehow get characterization of, like, the Celestial bigger than planets.
Or any of the characters, really.
Let me make this deviant whoops, out of control. Let me make these Eternals to deal with that.
Oh, I thought they were like two halves of the coin, the yin and the yang.
Especially based on the comic, deviants were always like
they were like a mistake.
The mistake, like
I didn't
you
get
were my
that at all.
experiment turned wrong. But I think in this movie, it's more like take care of the dinosaurs. They're not doing what I want them to do. The Eternals take care of the deviants, and so that's why hypothetically.
Well, then this movie's even stupider.
The one deviant kind of would have been interesting, where it's like the same being that created us.
Right.
For the same mission, how come you have to kill us though? You know, but then anyway, maybe not.
Now it's even worse.
Yeah, because originally, like, if you look at like Jack Kirby's original drawings, like I haven't read them, but I was seeing pictures. It's like people like on operation tables, like being experimented on, like they're literally being created by these Celestials. Here it's
we got
like
kind of a sense of that, but not really.
Yeah.
Dang,
See,
I like it way better when they were the yin and the yang, and they were kind of working.
Unless
like,
I'm mistaken, that's not
the interplay between good and evil is what allows the human race to exist and evolve.
Yeah.
That's more interesting than, oh crap, I made these weird looking things. Now I need to make these other things to take care of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Why create the deviants and not care anything about what happens to them? You're going to create deviants just as a tool, and then you're going to create Eternals to eradicate the deviants. But for some reason, after the Eternals have performed their mission, you take them back into the home office or whatever and download their experiences and their memories and repurpose them for the next mission. But you don't do that with the deviants. Again, that's another thing that makes RSM seem selfish. Why create one and care about it and create the other and not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he really cares about the Eternals either, though.
I don't think so. They're just his tools,
right.
I think.
Why not take the deviants back and download their memories and repurpose them? I don't know. It just
that's why I think it's kind
so
of
many
interesting.
Problems.
Kind of what you were talking about. It's like, I didn't expect my tool to get emotions, you know? To start
evolve, I think is what he said. Yeah.
Evolution's a big theme in this movie. This idea of like these things existed, now they don't, now we're here, now we're not here, and like these characters are evolving. I think evolution's a purposeful theme in this movie. I know,
the only characters that change are the deviants. Like they have somehow magically become able to absorb the powers of the people that they're fighting.
The Eternals arguably evolved from their mission to go do whatever they wanted to do.
No, they just decided to reject the prime objective or whatever. That's all. They didn't change. Like, and that's why the supposed love stories don't make any sense either. Like, if they can't evolve, like, they're basically just robots. They're doing a job. They're not going to be having emotions or relationships. They're not going to want to be human. They're not going to want any of that.
But they did.
So this is an example of a movie where the initial concept was magnificent, and there must have been like 400 people involved. It's like, I know. Here's a good. So this is like a bill that gets introduced into Congress. And initially, it was a good idea at its core. Mm-hmm. And then this person is like, oh, yeah, and let's also add this writer and this writer and this. And then it becomes this friggin' like Frankenstein monster that by the time it gets passed, it's so bloated that we don't even know what actually it was supposed to be. But hey, my special interest gets $1 billion for whatever, and then who cares about that's what this movie was. This movie was a bill that went through the lobbying process, came out the other end. The initial idea is totally obliterated by all the crap they added to it in the end. Okay, I'm done.
See, that's why.
That's all I got.
It does. I think it once again, kind of a bummer we don't get a sequel to kind of iron out some of these ideas. Okay, so
I think Ryan's right. I think Ryan's right. I think the writers wrote this assuming they were going to get a sequel.
Yeah, and
I get that feeling.
We don't get a sequel. Iron Man 2 is awful, but we got an Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Thor 1 is awful, but we gotta... Anyway, so... but now we don't even... Marvel...
I don't
know
see
what
how
Marvel's
they could have
doing
expected a sequel out of this, because literally there's nothing to care about here.
I personally want to know how they would ever escape a Celestial. Like, 4 of them got kidnapped or whatever.
Sure.
And they got Harry Styles to come in to beat them.
I don't know who that is.
You don't... Okay, well, everyone else knows who Harry Styles is.
Okay, good.
So they're setting up something we're never going to see, which is a bummer.
The three of us were given $200 million to make this movie. How would you do it?
Oh, I have an idea. This is my hot take. This is my hot take. Get ready, internet listener. This is what Marvel should have done. They've investing so much time in the multiverse stuff. It's gotten too messy. Don't like it. Marvel should have been building up Avengers vs. Eternals. Okay?
They're eternal.
Stop it. And then so they fight head on. It's the new guys. We don't understand them. We don't even have X-Men yet type of thing. Like, Avengers, we got to defeat these guys. Who are they? They have powers. They need to be controlled. Whatever. And then by the end, oh, wait. We have a common enemy and have to face, I don't know, some other big guy. My pitch for a sequel would have been Avengers vs. Eternals.
Okay.
I guess they have to be rescued first because... I don't know.
No,
that's the thing.
We can just let those guys go.
I do want to know how they would escape the Eternal blah blah, but I think that would have been interesting. But we're never going to see these guys ever again.
Cool.
Yeah.
If I were making this movie, I would have reduced the scope of the plot to the first hour.
Making this movie a sequel.
Oh, is that was that your question? Making a sequel?
No, I'm making this movie the first time.
Okay, so we reduce this to the first hour, maybe 45 minutes, and we allow that to be and
What's
develop.
The first hour?
Just like the introduction of the characters and all the supposed love affairs and and we give them some stupid little guy to fight on Earth, and we don't go big and like universe wide in the movie. We just keep it there. And we build these characters so that we actually give a crap about them. I like Martin's idea that there has to be some danger to these people. Because if they're eternal, I don't care.
Well, okay.
Like, there's no danger. There's no sacrifice. There's no heart. There's no love. There's no nothing.
To remake this movie, I would take out two Eternals right off the bat.
Yes, or at least, yeah.
Okay, but to your state, I think whatever the main bad guy thingy is, like, oh, all of a sudden there is something that can kill us. That's new. Like, that's...
Sure.
We've never experienced this.
That can be in the second movie.
No, that's the villain for the first one that you're pitching.
Oh, they can actually hurt us?
Yeah, like, oh, here's one that kills...
Okay, sure, but it's on the planet. It's here. We don't even know about the birth of the... whatever they're called... We don't know that the planet's going to be sacrificed. We just keep it here so that we can then move in the sequel into the second half of this movie. Then I give a crap. Then, yeah, I know that they can die. I like that. And then I'm emotionally invested in Thena's loss of her memory and then glitching in and out. I don't care. I don't care about any of that right now. So that's what I would do.
Yeah. So here's the thing. This was supposed to come out in 2020. Then COVID.
During COVID?
Well, we didn't know about COVID at the time.
Right.
It was supposed to be, you know how big Endgame was? You know how much you loved Endgame?
Yes.
Well, here's another epic. Like,
no.
What? Like, you don't know these guys, but these are another whole team you didn't know about. It was supposed to be the next thing. But then when COVID happened, shook things up. And then what Marvel did, it ruined any interest in this movie. This was the third Marvel movie that came out this year.
Yeah.
After Black Widow and Shang-Chi. And there were like 3 TV shows.
Wow.
Like we're saying Marvel fatigue. This movie suffered from Marvel fatigue. I think if it came out like right now, let's say it didn't exist till right now, I think it would I think it would be a hit.
I don't think so.
I think it would be. Yeah. A lot of people compare it to the DC movies like Dawn of Justice.
I think this one is going to be right above the Incredible Hulk in my ranking list.
So what would you think if, like, when the deviants start becoming sentient, right? And they start evolving or whatever. I thought it would be cool if the Eternals had compassion on that and help them somehow develop, and maybe they do a team up against Arishem.
Sure.
I thought that would be more compelling. And maybe we make this movie shorter, and the second half of the movie is, this is how we, stop the Celestial from being born, and then we hop on the ship and we go make an argument to Arishem that... I'm
still sticking my ground that I would have thought Eternals versus Avengers eventually would have been.
Yeah.
Because there's all sorts of fights.
I mean, we care about the Avengers, though. Yeah. To a certain extent, for the most part.
I like Ryan's concept that if this was completely removed from the MCU, right? This wasn't Earth. It was just a planet with Earth beings, intelligent beings or whatever on it. And then we don't have to have all of the, why aren't the Avengers here argument and all of that exposition, which I thought was really distracting. Right. This takes place elsewhere in a different time, and it's completely an isolated story, and then later we bridge it in. Kind of like they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? This is stuff that's happening in space. And then later, oh, hey, now it's relevant to Earth. I like that.
That might have worked better.
They could have let that planet die. They felt bad.
Yeah, see?
They could have let that planet die.
And then they have regrets. And then they're like, with this planet will be, see, this could have been so much better.
Because that's the thing. Guardians, no one cared, but because of the story, and then now we do care. I think it could have been similar. Like,
it could have been.
Could have been. Yeah. All right, I got some film studies of the real.
Okay,
this movie... Okay, I have to say one thing first. There is Richard Madden, who plays Icarus, and Kit Harington, who plays her boyfriend, are both in this movie that have screen time. And they're both in Game of Thrones. And in this movie, they're both in love with Cersei. Cersei's the name of a character from Game of Thrones. Every single time they said Cersei, I'm like, this is weird. Like, it took me out. I'm like, Game of Thrones? What are you doing in this movie? Anyway.
Isn't she like a Greek goddess or something?
Maybe,
right?
But she's also a main character.
Oh.
So this is...
Because Icarus is from, what, Egyptian mythology?
No, Icarus is from Greek.
He's the guy that flew into the sun.
To the sun.
Yeah, you're right.
I looked up some of these. Gilgamesh, he's the original, it's like the first story written down.
Right.
Anyway, so this movie is directed by Chloe Zhao. Like I already mentioned, she's like an indie film director. She did a couple shorts, and then she made a movie called Songs My Brother Taught Me. And then a movie called The Rider. She is a Chinese film director, but her first two movies are so unquestionably connected to like indigenous people or people who don't get the screen a lot type of thing. And then her movie... Nomadland came out in 2020. This movie wins Best Picture.
Oh, wow.
But before that movie won Best Picture, she was already cast as the Eternals. So if you're like a cinephile or like a film critic, you're like, she's made two crazy indie films, but they're super well done. Then her next movie wins Best Picture. Like, what is she going to do with Eternals? She's going to do something radically different. Like, there's no way it can't be. Everyone was so excited to see what she had in store, basically. So I just want to highlight the cinematography of this movie. Kind of already mentioned it. I don't know what the secret sauce is to make something look cinematic, but they're like at Selma Hayek's ranch in North Dakota or whatever. And it's like, just look at the silhouette of this house. Yeah. They're standing on a beach in golden hour. It just looks cinematic. Every time they go into space, you can see the aspect ratio changing to probably fit an IMAX screen to like look how big space is. Because that's the thing, things look so big in this movie. The Celestial looks huge, which is really cool. But something else I noticed, kind of a running visual motif, is she isolates her characters in a way that most movies don't. Her characters would stand in the exact center of the screen, and you see them head to toe, and like in the center, like the camera's super far away. That's not usual for movies. We got a lot of medium shots from the waist up, close-ups, just the face, and there's plenty of those. But what is rare is those extreme wide shots. You see everything, like you don't actually typically see a character necessarily from head to toe in movies, because like why you want to see the actor act type of thing. You want to
Right.
see them doing stuff with their face, but again and again, the visual motif of just standing alone in a field, in the forest, or it happens a lot. And I think it's trying to show that they feel isolated, or they feel maybe disconnected from the world they live in or something.
So maybe that's a part of why I didn't connect with them.
Maybe, I mean, it
That
might
could
have
be.
been
It might have been a bad choice then.
maybe it was a bad choice. But
That's interesting.
It's not something you typically see, and the visual language was unique in that regard. And it like raises the question: can you have auteurs in a franchise in Marvel? Because the machine kind of, you have your stuff, you do your stuff, but will Marvel?
Well,
make
we
it not
have
stand
already
out?
one at least, right? The guy that did Guardians.
Yeah, he's got a visual
He's got
style.
his own inside of Marvel. So yeah, I mean,
And I think that they're trying to find those directors that like, oh, you made this, do it here for us. Taika Waititi, at least for Ragnarok, really worked to change things in his specific style.
Mm.
And I think we can applaud this movie for attempting to shake up maybe the visual language or what we're expecting. Like,
sure.
Like I already mentioned, some fight scenes hold on longer than other fight scenes in the MCU, which I think is cool, but maybe it's gimmicky.
I don't know.
But I didn't even connect that. Maybe that's the reason we don't care for them, because
if we flip that around, like one of my favorite movies is Silence of the Lambs,
Mhm.
and the opposite of that is how that director uses the camera. Like that director uses camera to show power relations. So usually when Clarice, Jodie Foster's character, is shown, she's shown from like a high camera angle. And usually when Hannibal Lecter is
Anthony
shown,
Hopkins.
the camera is below him. And so even without saying anything at all, we as the the watchers of this movie get this internal sense that Clarice is not in power, even though she's the one on this side of the bars. She's the one not in, the straitjacket.
Oh.
She's not the one with the hockey mask on her face.
Yeah.
She has no power here.
Yeah.
And so I think that, the use of camera can prejudice or plant ideas in the audience. So the isolation for me must have become like an emotional distance from
Maybe,
me
yeah.
rather than communicating. So that's really cool.
So I have a quote from the director. She was kind of asked later on, like, thoughts about it bombing, basically. She said, Eternals was planned to be released soon after Endgame, and not at the time when everyone is having an existential crisis, Zhao said. The film itself is about existential crisis, both for humanity and God. So I think we definitely felt the divisiveness was coming. Zhao said the fusion of Marvel's in-house style and her own indie film sensibilities was another source of the movie's polarization. Fans of Zhao's, like the writer and Oscar-winning Nomadland, were disappointed to see more traditional Marvel elements in the film, while not all Marvel fans were on board with Zhao shaking up some of the visual language of the MCU. In this case, this is the director again, we truly stepped out of the box I think the world put us in, and met in the middle because of our shared interests, Zhao said. And by truly doing that, it made a lot of people uncomfortable on both sides. But there are also people who are more comfortable with the order of their world being disturbed. And then they looked at our love child and go, oh, this touches different sides of me. I like that. And then she says she completely understands the divisiveness, because critics didn't like this movie. It's like lower than Thor 2. It's somewhere in the 70s with fans and stuff.
So it's just an unfortunate when it was released.
Yeah.
Because we already were having trouble dealing with our existence and what does it mean.
Yeah.
And now this movie's like, and not only that, MCU isn't going to give you they've always given you either.
Yeah.
We're just going to make it worse for you. I could see
the
that.
Movie critics were like, oh, this doesn't feel like her other stuff I do like. And fans are like, oh, this doesn't feel like the Marvel stuff that I like. So
And then the whole planet was like, dang, life already sucks, and now we don't have...
That's what she was saying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, what's kind of funny, we have this giant celestial sticking out of the planet. Not a single thing has mentioned that since this. No movie or TV show has brought it up. Except the one and only thing is a movie that's about to come out. The next Captain America movie. You see it a little bit in the trailer.
Okay, but... Okay.
That's it.
So we just don't care
Marvel,
about Eternals.
people are like, so we're going to mention the giant being coming out of the planet?
So, we need to get out of this piece of crap. So what is our dessert?
The dessert of the real, I think the best one, besides Gilgamesh, he's like, oh, what you're drinking is my fermented corn spit. But the better one is when they go to Gilgamesh, and he just, for one thing, picks out like the plate with his bare hands, and they tell him that Selma Hayek's character died. He just lets it fall.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
And he crumples up the pan.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. Yeah. So any final thoughts, Martin?
I just want to point out the best character in the movie was the Kingo. Kingo's the Bollywood star. His director or whatever, his little assistant aide.
Yes.
I looked up his name. Harish Patel is his name. So I like what Ryan said about the humor in this. The campy humor was somewhat toned down. And in a lot of Marvel movies, there seems to be a one-upmanship to that, but this one didn't have that. It mostly was centered around this guy. His name in the movie was Karan. And him with all of the different cameras and stuff. He keeps bringing out another camera and
always have
shooting
a backup.
the shots and stuff. But later, when it looks like, hey, this is getting pretty serious, and the Fellowship of the Ring's breaking up or whatever, like his commentary was really touching, I thought. So shout out to that guy. Not one of the Eternals, just a regular dude trying to serve Kinga. I thought he was great.
You just reminded me of something I took a note of. For one thing, I think it's lame that Kingo just disappears for the final fight. I think that's lame.
Did he?
Yeah. He's like, I'm out because we can't beat Icarus by... His helper there, his valet, when he didn't want to fight, this is what the valet says to Kingo. He says, life affords no greater dignity than to protect one's family. Because he's quoting his own movie back at him.
Yeah.
Which I think eventually will pay into, like, why do we need to protect Earth? But then Kingo doesn't even stick around with his family. So it's kind of a dumb little thing to even include.
Yeah, this is a serious ball drop for me. Yeah.
It feels like it had so much potential.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we have made this one work? It feels like there's a lot here.
Yep, I agree with that.
Okay, what's our next movie?
I'm having Marvel fatigue.
Yeah. It's interesting to watch.
Actually, I've been having Marvel fatigue for about half a year
You didn't watch Loki,
No.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, or Moon Knight, all that came out before this movie the same year.
That's sad.
A lot.
For humanity.
We were having Marvel fatigue with all that. Like, there's too much. I can't keep up anymore. No.
It's probably another Spider-Man movie, right?
Actually, it might be.
Yeah.
It is.
Because now we have to have
It's Spider-Man
the
No
little
Way
kid
Home. So I need you to attempt to do something for me. Can you have your child put this movie on without you seeing the thumbnail or anything?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all you need to do.
Okay.
The thumbnail will spoil a thing.
Okay.
So this movie is good, Jason. This is a palate cleanser.
One?
This No Way Home.
Oh, okay.
It's a good palate cleanser.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll
That
see
is.
what you think.
I don't know. Like, I came out of Shang-Chi. I really liked Shang-Chi a lot. And then this, so...
I have one recommendation of the reel. It's similar because Sprite is a child who biggest problem is she can't grow up and stuff. Another movie has a very similar thing as Interview with a Vampire. Kristen Dunst gets turned into a vampire as a child, then quickly learns, wait a second, I should be getting older. And that's like a major moment for her character in that movie.
So, I really like the movie In Time. Ryan hates it. I think it's a really cool...
I don't like that. Yeah.
I think it's a really cool take on... we have We have a limited amount of time. How are we going to spend it? Kind of thing. So it ties into the Eternals are eternal, the mortals are immortal. What if immortal could be an eternal just by taking time away from poor people or by buying someone's life or something like that. So I thought the concept of In Time was really good. Some of the details and stuff, maybe not, but I really liked In Time. It's one of my favorites. So
another movie that it's not like a movie I think is amazing, but it would be interesting to compare. It's called Old Guard, Charlize Theron. Another movie about these warriors who are eternal. They can't die. They've been around for hundreds of years. Can I do another random one that's loosely connected?
No,
all right, I'm going to do it anyway.
No.
So, the Cersei, the actress is Gemma Chan. She is a voice for a character in a movie called The Boy and the Heron, which is the latest Maya Hayazaki movie.
We should talk about that, Ryan.
Yeah. So
Boy the Heron. I have so many questions.
Miyazaki, he anime. He directed Spirited Away, Ponyo,
right.
Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh yeah, of
so
course.
He retired multiple times. He's like, you know what? I got another movie in me. This might be my last movie. And Boy and the Heron, it's about many things, including how are you going to leave a legacy? How do you move on from death? How do you accept new people in your life? How are you going to live? That's the original title in Japanese. How will you live? Or how do you live is what it was. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie that I deeply loved. Very imaginative. And there's that one loose connection. The actress is the voice in that.
Okay, I have one loose connection. I already mentioned it.
Go for it.
The guy whose name was or whatever, the mind control guy, or Fergig.
Druid?
Oh, Druid?
Oh, is it?
I have no idea. I don't.
Druid,
Anyhow, that
it
guy.
ends in a G.
Oh, it ends in a G. Druid. That guy is in a massively better movie called The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I absolutely love. I've seen it edited, so I don't know if there's any horrible crap that happens in it. Okay, apparently.
There's definitely one thing.
Okay, so there's horrible crap that happens in it, but in terms of a movie that forces you to just think all the time about what's going on, what are the implications of this event and that event, Killing of a Sacred Deer, I loved it. Watch it on VidAngel so that you don't see whatever the horrible thing is that happens, or watch it and enjoy the horrible thing. I don't know, whatever floats your boat.
Did you ever see the Banshees of Inisherin?
Nope. Did you?
Yeah.
Cool.
He's in that, and that's just another.
Is it good?
It's really good. It's like,
okay.
What if your friend just decides we're not friends anymore, and juxtaposed to the Irish Revolution in the 70s or 80s, and it's pretty dang good.
Cool.
Anyway, sorry, it's hard not to think of good movies sometimes.
Yeah. Especially after this one. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Martin, thank you for joining us and expanding all of our minds.
Thanks for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, very much. I don't know. How do we end this? We love you.
Oh, yeah. Think critically.
Think critically.
Like our podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That. Share it with somebody.
Follow us on Good Pods.
We're now 23rd highest in a very, very, very limited niche category on Good Pods. So they created a category just for us, and we're 23rd in it.
Indie film and TV is not that niche.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go.
Last month.
So, yeah, and thanks for listening. We love you.
Bye.